We call it people technology.
So Chennai were chasing 173 to win, and guess what? Before this, Delhi Capitals had not conceded more than 140 runs in this leg of the IPL. And before this, the four games that these two teams had played, all games were won by Delhi Capital. What it means was that the odds were stacked against Chennai Super Kings. And guess then what happens? Exactly, Chennai Super Kings come back fighting and win when it really matters in a crunch game. And what that has done is taken them, and note this, to their eighth final in the 12 seasons that they've participated. So consistency and Chennai Super Kings are synonyms at the moment. And joining me on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, which is presented by Maruti Suzuki, Gautam Gambhir, Dan Vettori, and Sanjay Manjrekar. Dan, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been transported, 3-4 years ago. Robin Uthappa comes to the party, MS Dhoni is hitting the winning runs, Chennai is in the finals.
Just the same old, just this history repeating, isn't it? I think that such an impressive victory. I think all of us thought that they could do it, or thought that they had a big chance, and I think it's because the wicket played so well that allowed the likes of Uthappa to come into his own. And from that first ball that he faced, he just looked like, as you say, been transported back 3 or 4 years. The class of his shots, the timing, he looked in complete control. So for somehow CSK to get a performance out of him is incredibly impressive. But once again, just an overall chase that shows the confidence that CSK have in themselves to be able to do that time and time again.
Right. Congratulations, Dan. You also got your predictions right. You picked Chennai Super Kings right at the start of this program. But I must also say both the other experts in Gautam Gambhir and Sanjay Manjrekar thought that even though Delhi kind of got a total which you could say would be slightly above par, and yet they thought that Chennai could chase it. Sanjay, I'm going to come to you. Was it only down to the pitch, or was it also the fact that Chennai Super Kings know how to chase such totals down when it comes to crunch encounters?
I don't know whether we can draw any long-term conclusions and certainties from this game. It was a wonderful game to begin with, great IPL game and befitting the stage. You wanted this kind of a nail biter. There were lots of ups and downs. There were occasions when you thought Delhi would win, and then Chennai got into strong positions. Some good batting performances, bowling. Josh Hazelwood bowled a crucial couple of overs in the first six, got the wicket of Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer. But in the end, I'm sure we'll go into other territories as well. But at the moment, I'm feeling really emotional about Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The Lion is much older now, but to have that belief to go in and bat in that position, Jadeja after him, and then finding the shots under pressure to get those winning runs. So there are other heroes as well, but got to say, Dhoni just reminded everyone about why we rated him as one of the all-time greats in white ball cricket. Just that confidence of being, that belief that he can do it. And at this stage of your career, if you back yourself to do it, you put yourself in the firing line. Incredible.
You lead me nicely into the question that I was going to ask Gautam, and that was with regards with MS Dhoni. Gautam, hand on your heart, when he walked out ahead of Bravo or a Jadeja, the man in form, did you think that was the right move?
Yeah, that was because probably they wanted to go left and right combination. Plus, there was one side which probably was a shorter for a right-hander, and that's the reason probably he walked in. Had probably Moin got out before Rituraj, probably we could have seen Jadeja walking in before MS Dhoni. But then hats off to him, the way he finished it off, especially the six of Avesh Khan. Uh, it was his only second delivery which he was facing, so obviously you got to give it to him the way he finished it off. But at the same time, probably captaincy, the best death ball bowler in the world only bowls 3 overs, and that is Kagiso Rabada. It just amazes me that you've gone for Avesh Khan for the 19th and Tom Curran for the 20th as well. But again, you don't want to take anything away from CSK, the way they had chased this total down. It is never that easy, and you got to give it to MS Dhoni that he was brave enough probably to come ahead of Jadeja and Bravo, and then finishing it off with the last shot.
Right. Now, that was a decision that puzzled a lot of people, and I'll get both Dan and Sanjay to react to it. Dan, starting with you, as Gautam points out, not having Kagiso Rabada finish his quota of 4 overs.
Well, I think there are little things along the way. I still would like to see Axar Patel bowl 4 overs. I mean, the right-handers are in for a long time, and he's obviously a quality bowler. So when they didn't do that, that put, I suppose, bowlers in different positions. And I think the commentators noted that Tom Curran is a noted death bowler, but he doesn't always get it right. And I think he'd bowled really well up until that point, and probably that influenced Rishabh Pant's decision that he was going to give him the ball, because I think he had 2 for 16 off 3 overs. So that influenced it. But in the end, in these pressure situations, you want to go to the guy that's probably done it in more pressure situations before, and Rabada is that man. So it was a surprise not to see him get one of those last 3 overs at least, to see where he was. But I think the style that Tom Curran bowls doesn't suit itself to defending those sorts of scores. He can take wickets, but he's always going to go for runs.
Okay, Sanjay, would you have Rabada? And the other thing that Dan points out, maybe not in place of Tom Curran. Others might have thought that Avesh didn't have a great game. He was the one who could have been pulled back. What would you have done?
It seemed like Avish almost had the yips, after that we mentioned, I mean, that one ball six, and that six also that Bharat hit wasn't really, from the meat of the bat, could have, slightly longer boundary could have been caught, but seemed to have lost a bit of confidence, because this is an Avish Khan who was sensational up till now. But last 2 games, I mean, he was trying to get the Yorker in, and there were juicy full tosses. Ruturaj Gaikwad missed one towards the end. So if I was the captain, on pure current form, not going by the stature of the person. Rabada also, I would have been a little skeptical, but I would have certainly gone with Tom Curran, because he was bowling well and they wanted to take the pace off. And against Dhoni, you want to take the pace off. Aging players losing a bit of power, you take the pace off as a seam bowler. So I would have gone with Rabada and Tom Curran, and not Avesh Khan and Tom Curran.
And just want to add, just want to add one thing. And probably I've always believed that the 19th over is the most important over, though Avesh got Rituraj Gaikwad, but definitely I have to agree with Sanjay that you have to go with your best death bowler, and that has to be the Rabada, no doubt about it. No, Avesh bowled the 16th, Nokia 17th. Sorry, I think Avesh bowled the 17th, Nokia 18th, Rabada 19th, and Tom Curran 20th. That should have been the case. And then he went for 17th and 19th with Avesh Khan. That probably was not the right decision. Yes, Rabada could be in not best of his forms, but you got to back him to do the job, because he's been playing continuously and he's a world-class bowler.
I'll get into the CSK batting, plenty to talk about there. But before I do that, a quick word. Dan, would you like to solve this for us, for laymen like us? We saw when Chennai were bowling, the Deepak Chahars of the world, the Shardul Thakurs of the world, that use a lot of slow deliveries, weren't very successful. And Tom Curran did the same and yet was quite successful. What do you think was the big difference between these two sets of bowlers?
I mean, I think they all bowled reasonably well. I think the thing we praised Hazelwood early on for the lengths that he hit, and the lengths that he hit were effective because of the same sort of thing. I think he bowled reasonably well, and then the slow balls at the end, tend to work. You see, the 2 balls that Dhoni missed were both slow balls from Avesh Khan. So I just think probably the utilisation of balls in certain situations, Chennai did that a lot better than Delhi. I think they, at times when they bowled their best balls, they were effective, both teams. But I just think the utilisation of those balls were in CSK's favour.
Let's get into CSK batting now. I'm going to start with Ruturaj Gaikwad once again. Had a bit of a blip, if you can call it that, just 2 innings where he didn't get too many runs, but then comes back roaring into form, gets you 1750 deliveries. Gautam, I'll get your thoughts on this one. I know we've seen him do it up top. He plays the fast bowlers and even the spinners really well to begin with. But I'm going to talk about Ruturaj Gaikwad, the finisher today, especially the way he played Nokia there, tiring body, and the run rate is climbing, yet had the presence of mind to bat the way he did.
And he plays proper cricketing shots. He's not someone who would give up. He's not someone who's a power hitter. He's not like Robin Uthappa, who has both the games. He can time. Robin can time. He can play that power shots as well. Ritu is not that bigger guy and that stronger guy as well. And despite of not having that much of strength, he plays some unbelievable shots. He looks to time the ball. He looks to find the gaps, and that is just what it shows. That if you want to be a successful T20 cricketer, you don't want to be a Pollard or a Russell or someone who can probably slog the ball or hit the ball that hard. And that is probably, and he plays spin really well as well. So probably a very good player. Hopefully he keeps improving, and then he's been the find of the season for CSK, not only this year, last year as well.
From the perspective of Delhi Capitals, Sanjay, and I'm going to talk about Ruturaj at the start. We spoke about it, and you mentioned how that might just be the game there, the power play, those quicks coming. And one thing that you really wanted out of the Delhi bowlers was to be aggressive. Do you think they were aggressive enough with Ruturaj when he was batting against the new ball?
No, I mean, when I saw the wicket of Faf du Plessis fall, I thought that was a big moment in the game. But you had Akshar Patel bowling the first 6 overs. So I don't think Rishabh Pant had sussed the pitch out and what his strength was and how he could attack the top order of Chennai Super Kings. He could have gone really hard at Uttappa as well, bowled more into his body rather than outside the off stump. There are a few poor deliveries as well. Rabada bowled one on his bat. So I don't think they were really intent on, bowling a fiery opening spells in the first 6 overs, considering the pitch had something for the quicker bowlers. But that Avesh Khan over of 20 runs really, was a big, big setback for Delhi Capitals. And in the end, they were trying to find ways to, somehow find a way to win the game. But yeah, missed a few tricks, I thought. Dhoni far superior in all his calls that he made as captain today.
In case Dan, they did have a plan to bowl aggressively to him with only Nokia as just that one weapon. Was it possible with Rabada really not in form? Avesh, as we spoke about, not quite the same after that game.
No, I still think they had the four fast bowlers to attack him, and there was talk before even they walked out to the middle of the batsman how they'd utilise the short ball against him, and I can only think of a couple of bounces, and he dealt with them pretty easily. So I think to Sanjay's point, that ability to attack the stumps, to use your short ball, to be more aggressive with the four seamers is probably something that we didn't see too much, and it felt like it was going to after du Plessis was dismissed, because that was such an important wicket that we'd see all out aggression, we'd see them take on Uthapa. But I think the way that Uthapa play as well, to give him credit, put the pressure back on those bowlers and looked like they lost their plans. They thought that would be a simple little spell to him, but he came out so aggressive towards them and took the game on. And I think that relieved a lot of pressure off Gaikwad, and they were able to build that partnership, and Delhi went away from what should have worked for them.
You talk about Robin Uthappa, 63 of just 44 deliveries. Gautam Gambhir, did you feel like it was, a few years back, KKR jersey, the two of you opening the innings? Did you get that feel while sitting away?
Oh, absolutely. And you got to give credit to MS Dhoni where it's deserved, that he continued with Robin Uthappa. He could have easily been tempted to go for Suresh Raina. If Suresh Raina was fit, don't know whether he was actually still unfit or not, but then persisting with the player, and that is what it shows. When you persist with the player, eventually he'll come good if he has the ability. And Robin has loads and loads of ability. He's shown it in the past, and probably he likes batting in the top three. And before this, he actually hasn't batted in the top three. He's batted at number 4, so probably this is where he likes it. And recognizing sending who at number 3, equally important. And MS has used Moeen Ali at number 3, and now today he used Robin Uthappa, and he's got the fruits.
As Gautam says, Sanjay, I mean, these are the fruits that if you persist with one player, we've seen CSK do that quite often, and then eventually they'll come good for you.
Yeah, but Uttapa is a different case. I mean, a lot of time has been invested by Gautam himself when he was playing for KKR, and that last season that he played for KKR, if you remember, when KKR had to qualify for the playoffs, he got 40 or 47 balls, and KKR lost that game. So this is an Uttapa who's been slightly disappointing. I looked at his numbers as well. 200 runs in that last season at a strike rate of 115. So Dhoni was taking a huge risk by sending him at number 3, especially when Moeen Ali has been doing a pretty good job. So I thought that was not a great move, but Uttapa fired today. I mean, it's something that doesn't happen very often, but it happened tonight. And that's, I guess, the Dhoni touch. And once Moeen started batting down the order, I felt that, you were going to get less and less from Moeen. Because he needs to be in the top 3. He's not one of those, Ambati Raidus or a Dhoni or the kind of finisher that we see, who are mentally strong and are able to finish games.
Okay, now what must Delhi Capitals do? As I mentioned, Chennai Super Kings through to their eighth final, and this is the time for a team like Delhi Capitals, who finished right on top of the table, to contemplate, to think what really went wrong for them. Dan, one thing that now they'd have to seriously think about, probably they weren't thinking about that before this, would be Ravichandran Ashwin's place going forward. Again, just bowls the 2 overs.
Yeah, I mean, Delhi have to find that balance, and whether Stoinis can somehow be fit, obviously that would make a huge difference. But they're not carrying players is not the right phrase, but they're hoping for situations where they can utilise some players, and to put Axer up the top of the order, I think is a mistake, because it's not a positive move. It's just trying to lengthen a batting order. They're not being able to find spaces for 4 overs for Ashwin. So you actually got, I suppose, 7 to 8 players trying to win games, and when you have that, it makes it incredibly difficult. So Delhi's mission, I suppose, between now and the next game, whoever they're playing, is to find the right balance.
Gautam, the other positives that they can work in, these we spoke about, things that they really need to consider. But Pant getting back into some sort of form, and then Prithvi Shaw getting you runs on top. So these are two things that they can work with if they had any plans now to make it to the finals.
Yes, now it's a must win for them. And probably they will actually have to look at Ashwin's place in the side. If you're not confident enough to make him bowl 4 overs in the previous and in today's game as well, probably you can look at someone like a Ripple Patel. I don't know whether he'll be that successful. And you can continue with Tom Curran and the 4 seamers. You'll have 4 seamers plus Axar, and then Ripple Patel can bat a bit and can give you 1 or 2 overs. Probably that's the way going forward. Whether you want to take that gamble with Amit Mishra on that kind of a wicket, on that kind of a ground where he hasn't played any cricket throughout this leg, will be again a huge challenge. So let's wait and watch. Yes, Prithvi was absolutely fabulous. So they will have to continue probably and go as hard as they can in the next game, because now it's got to be a lot of pressure, because you still today was not that much of pressure, but next game becomes a must-win game.
And we keep talking about Sanjay, that Delhi, of course, bowling was their strength for the longest time. Couple of games, you'd have to say, close games that they've lost. One against RCB and now against Chennai Super Kings. Ashwin, we've spoken about. The other big worry now is that fast bowling. Suddenly, we're talking about the Avesh Khans of the world, the Khagiso Rabadas of the world, and looking at the bench, they have someone called Lalit Yadav. They used him earlier, did rather well for them, but couldn't find a place in the 11 now.
Yeah, he, I think, got a couple of opportunities, maybe one, but hasn't looked the part. Lalit Yadav didn't, exude too much, sort of, confidence, or where the captain would say, let's give him another game. So I doubt whether they'll go back to Lalit Yadav. They're missing Stoinis like anything. Ashwin is an easy call. You can see what you can get with Ashwin, but Delhi Capitals have sort of played him virtually every game, which has been beyond my understanding. But you've also come to a stage where one of your key bowlers who's getting you wickets, keeping the runs on Avesh Khan, they'll have to assess, his state of mind. Is he, a guy who seems to have just lost it? And is it going to be another huge risk going into that knockout match? Because then you'll have a Rabada who's not in, has been in great form. You've got an Ashwin, you've got an Avesh Khan who is short of confidence. So some calls for Ricky Ponting to make, and he's got to really look at these guys closely and see how their state of mind is. Ashwin's thing is not a state of mind; it's just that he just becomes a carom ball bowler and not an off spinner. And when he bowls those, leg cutters, carom balls to the right hander, with the idea of getting it away from the right, he still gets smacked for runs. Doesn't get you wickets. So either you talk to him and get him to bowl the way you want him to, or you leave him out.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Just to add, you can't do that. You can't tell Ashwin to do what, because he's got his own mind. And at the same time, suddenly, what a what a sport cricket is. Suddenly, a couple of days back, we were thinking that Delhi is unbeatable, and now we're talking about whether they've got the right combination or not. And this is what happens when you lose 2 on the trot, and suddenly we start talking about whether they've got the bowling lineup. And a couple of days back, we were thinking that they are the best bowling lineup in the competition. So it just amazes me, and this is what happens when you start losing in a tournament like IPL. There'll be a lot of doubt that starts creeping in among the squad and among the playing 11 as well.
Forget about what I'm saying, Gautam. It's our job to be a bit skeptical. You tell me, are they a good enough bowling lineup?
Yes, they are. 1 or 2 bad days doesn't make a summer. Yes, they still are. But do they believe that they are? Because Avesh, by getting hit for that 1-6, does not become a bad bowler. But it showed today. Had he learned from his mistake, he wouldn't have bowled so many full tosses. And by Rabada not having the best of season, not bowling him 4 overs was another mistake. So it is up to the captain and the management to show that trust as well. They tried showing that trust in Avesh, but probably they could have shown the same trust in Rabada as well. Yes, they will have to deliver now because they've been probably the team of the tournament, and if they don't qualify for the play for the finals, it's going to be a disappointment for the entire Delhi squad.
Sanjay, you wanted to say something. Sorry.
No, no, just that, these are the calls that coaches need to take. I mean, Quinton de Kock was left out, a guy who was playing quite well in that batting line, wasn't getting the big score, but he was striking the ball well because Mumbai Indian wanted a Jimmy Neesham in the side. And then suddenly you discovered an Ishan Kishan, who looked really out of sorts. So these are calls coaches would take. Dan Vettori is a good person to maybe just dwell on this issue. What do you do with an Avish Khan who's had a pretty good season, but at the moment when he's bowling, you can see that he's not able to control the full length delivery. His confidence having gone a bit, it can happen. So do you give him one more game with the fact that Rabada is also not your usual Rabada? So these are all tough calls, plus an Ashwin out of the 5 bowlers that you've got. So these are the tough calls that coaches need to make.
Dan?
I think this is where good captains take over, and they realise that Avish Khan has been amazing through the season. He's had a couple of tough games, and I think you see the good captains, particularly someone like a Dhoni, who may put him in a different situation. He may bowl him as 4 overs before the 14th over and ask him to be aggressive, ask him to take wickets, and that takes away the pressure of trying to execute those Yorkers and trying to be perfect at the back end. So I would like to see teams be backed, players be backed, but I still think you can use them in different situations. And once again, that's where a good management comes to the fore, or a good captain comes to the fore, that they back their players, but they actually put them in situations where they can succeed.
Okay, plenty.
I just want to sort of tell you how brilliant Dhoni was today. Right, you had Deepak Chahar bowling the first over, conceded 3 and then 17. Shaw went after him. So immediately he switched his attention to Josh Hazlewood to bowl in the first 6 overs, and he bowled a brilliant second, the 4th over where he conceded 4, and he bowled the 6th over where he conceded 1 and got a couple of wickets. So Deepak Chahar was taken out from the role where he normally bowls quite a few overs in the first 6. Jadeja, the last over that he bowled, conceded just 3 or 4 runs, but he knew that one more over of Jadeja to a left-hander out there could be dangerous, and didn't bowl him. So like Dan said, if you feel Avish Khan is slightly short of confidence, give him the easier task till he gets his belief back.
Gautam, before I wrap up, word from you as Sanjay is talking about Pant, the captain. You reckon missed a trick or two?
100%, absolutely. That, as I was just mentioned it to you, that when Avesh bowled the 17th, it had to be Nokia. 18th, which Nokia bowled. 19th had to be Rabada, and 20th could be Tom Curran. 3 international bowlers, played a lot of cricket at international stage, so why would you not back them to do the job for you when you've picked them to do those to bowl those difficult overs? Yes, you would want to back Avesh Khan, but you got to realize that he's a young guy as well, and putting him under so much of pressure when you've got an international bowler was a big mistake as well. And again, what Dan mentioned, that why would you not bowl Aksar his 4 overs? In fact, he could have actually he could have got Aksar to bowl the 4th over at any stage of the game, and then probably could have squeezed one. He would have had to bowl one less of Avesh or somewhere else. But yes, he would learn from his mistakes. At the same time, probably Ricky Ponting would have had to help him. He was sitting in the dugout. Probably there was a timeout there as well. They could have actually discussed who's going to bowl the 17th, 18th, 19th, and the 20th over.
Okay, plenty for Delhi to ponder over. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Sanjay Manjrekar, Gautam Gambhir, Dan Vettori, and that was what Delhi Capitals really need to think about. As far as CSK are concerned, I think they need to think about authoring a book. If they were to author a book and title it The Art of Winning, I'm definitely buying, and I'm sure many of you would. That's how consistent they've been. As I mentioned, 8th final in their 12th season. You're watching ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout. That was brought to you by Maruti Suzuki.
We call it people technology.